Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
Okay, Friday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. Just a couple of dudes hanging out, talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. Tonight is episode 59, and so we are going to start things off with Name That Stadium like we always do. Then we're going to cover the news from this past week. After that, we're going to continue our four-part series on 2021 divisional outlooks. Tonight, we're covering the AFC and the NFC South. And last but not least, we'll close things off with our question of the week. So, with all that being said, how's it going tonight, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
It's going great, man. I'm feeling out of this world, if you haven't noticed.
Oh, I noticed.
Okay, at least you're not impressed, but you noticed. Okay. Yeah, I mean, hey, man, things are getting a little scarce around here with the move, so I just had to shake it up for the week. But all right, let's do Name That Stadium. So this is the part of the show where, as you can see, if you're watching, James is out there traveling the country. Every week, he puts a new stadium in his background. If you think you know what stadium that is, hit us up in our comments section. The first person to get it right is going to get a shout out next week's show. And so, James, why don't you tell us where you were at last week, man?
Last week I was in Arizona. What's it? State Farm Stadium or whatever the hell it's called.
Okay. And was there any particular inspiration for that?
Well, I wanted to go with like the team that I thought we were going to talk about that I thought was going to be the worst last week, but I had recently done Denver, and that was the one I had with the worst record, so I went with second worst record.
Ah, okay. Interesting. Um, all right. So, moving on, let's do our recap of the past week. Fair amount of stuff in the news. Some of it's significant, some of it, it's still, you got to take some of it with a grain of salt about guys looking phenomenal and things like that. And you know, it's preseason. It's hard to get a grip on some of these things. Sometimes it's hype, sometimes maybe it's something real. But we'll start off with Jameis Winston. It's been made official. He's beaten out Taysom Hill, at least for now. He's going to start for the Saints as their QB1. And we'll get to more of this later on when we do our question of the week, but I thought we'd kick it off there. A starter has been announced in New Orleans. After that, Saquon Barkley. I saw just the other day, Joe Judge was talking on NFL Network, and he was commenting about how they wanted to see Saquon take some hits, but they wanted to do it in sort of a controlled manner before they get him into the regular season, just to kind of gradually ease him in since he's coming back from a very serious knee injury. Since he's made those comments, it seems like some things have maybe taken a step backwards. Looks like his status is in doubt. He's not going to play this final preseason game against the Patriots, which it sounds like it's fairly significant because the team announced most of their starters are going to play in this last game. It sounds like they still got a lot of work to do. They need as much time as they can get. And Saquon, it's tough, man, because earlier on in the offseason, a lot of people were concerned that he might not be ready for week one. And then it almost seemed like they sort of prematurely pulled him off of the PUP list. And now, we're getting very close to the start of the season, and they're saying, you know, his status is sort of in doubt again. And so I don't know, man. I mean, what do you think? Is it Judge under pressure, maybe to get something done this year, and so he was kind of anxious out of the gate to get him back, and now they're kind of realizing he's just not ready. We better not push it, or what do you think's going on here, man?
I don't think it's Judge. I think it's Gettleman. Like I heard something like some of the players they could have drafted like the last 3 years, like they could have gotten Mekhi Becton, and I forget the other offensive lineman they could have gotten the other two, but it's like they could have drafted these offensive linemen where they could protect Daniel Jones, and he's not doesn't have someone in his face after like 2 seconds, 2 seconds after the ball snapped. And I think so. Gettleman's kind of feels like he's starting to be on the hot seat, and I think it was more him pushing it than
Okay.
Joe Judge, because I think ownership is happy with Judge and give him another couple years to see what he can do. And it's just Gettleman kind of like getting antsy because I have to justify picking Saquon with, what was it, the second pick overall or whatever it was, sitting number 6, wherever he was drafted.
It was so high. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, I agree. It's, not only keeping Daniel Jones protected in the pocket, but actually opening up some running lanes for Saquon. If you're gonna, and I remember going back talking about it when they drafted him, being critical of it, that it was like, man, build your offensive line first, and then go out and get that guy. There's so many more things that you need to do before you go out and draft a running back that high. It just, especially today when everything's so pass friendly that I don't know. But you know me, and it's about starting in the trenches and kind of going out from there. So, um,
So he was the second pick overall, and they could have drafted Quentin Nelson
oh man,
because Quentin Nelson went number 6 to Indianapolis, and then the next draft when they picked Daniel Jones, and they could have picked where was it? Well, Jonah Williams was there. Um, yeah, Jonah Williams, I think, is the big one from that draft that they could have picked over
okay, Danny Dimes.
or over Danny Dimes. And then the following year, when they picked Andrew Thomas, which was a pretty shitty pick because they could have picked Mekhi Becton, and then last year they could have drafted Tristan Wirfs.
Okay. Oh yeah, and I mean he just lit it up his first year. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
and
they're not even swinging on offensive linemen. They're just flat out missing.
yeah, so I think that's more of the issue with Gettleman is like he's kind of like I kind of fucked up. I'm sorry, it was when they drafted Andrew Thomas, they could have drafted Tristan Wirfs instead.
Gotcha. Okay.
I was a year off.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, they took one swing at a lineman, and the rest of them they didn't even swing for it. They just took other guys and didn't really work out. And yeah, it's tough, man. I don't know. I think they went with some flashy picks, and
Yeah,
flashy doesn't always get results. Flashy makes sense. It's like here's the deal. It's like the Steelers getting Najee Harris. It's like you can do that when your team is mostly filled across the board. Although, I mean, they need help on the offensive line, so maybe they're not the greatest example. But you know what I mean. If your team is very well established and you only have a couple holes, yeah, if you got like some freaking premium running back staring you in the face on the draft board, go get them. Or even a tight end for that matter. If it's like later in the first round, there's some stud tight end out there, go get them. But, when you've got like gaping holes across the board like the Giants have had, you can't make that pick, man. It's a luxury pick.
it's a luxury pick, and you don't want to draft, like, especially a running back. You don't want to draft a running back until you're like right there, and that's like
Yeah.
your last piece you need because basically as soon as you draft him, especially the first round pick, he's already top 10 running back and pay wise.
Yeah, and his shelf life could be it could be that first contract, 4 or 5 years, and then, you
Exactly.
know, right around the time you got the team ready to go, he's see you later, decline phase. Um, yeah, all right. Moving on. Talking about another running back. So Zeke in Dallas restructured his contract. I didn't see the details on what exactly was restructured, but I just heard basically they restructured him to free up some salary cap space. Teams are whittling down the rosters, and so something that they're doing. This just kind of made sense for him, and hey, that's fine. It's he's on a huge freaking contract, so I think they can do this every year with him until he's gone. Is that you know restructure, give him some more guaranteed money or whatever, however they do it, and free up some space. So, they can go back to the well on him next year, I'm sure too.
Yeah, so they converted 8.6 million of the 9.6 million base salary to a signing bonus,
Yeah. Yeah,
which
that
gave
way
him
it comes off the top.
about 7 million um, cap space this year because the signing bonus is spread out over the contract versus being for that particular season.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so maybe not as easy at doing it every year, but at least it gave them relief for now and maybe
Yeah, but
some,
kind of
yeah,
kind of fucks them next year.
yeah. Well, it's
Next
hey,
year's cap hit, it went from less than 2 million to 18 million.
mm, well, maybe they'll trade him before the deadline. Go Tony
Yeah.
Pollard.
Yeah, but it
They're not gonna
the ear
trade Zeke, dude. I'm
the
just messing.
earliest no. According to this, the earliest they could theoretically get rid of him would be 2023 and it'd still be a $12 million cap hit.
Oh yeah, no, they're not getting rid of him. He's a lifer in Dallas now.
Yeah,
Um,
I think he's the second best running back on that team.
okay, who's the
I
first?
think what's his name? Pollard.
Tony Pollard.
Yeah, I think Pollard's last year showed a lot more than Zeke. And I don't give a shit what people say. Oh, Zeke come in shape this year, this and that. Zeke's on the decline, and Tony Pollard
Yeah.
had a phenomenal year last year as a second string running back.
Yeah, it does bother me that Zeke's yards per carry have gone down every year since he's been in the league. And I mean, I
Yeah.
was saying it last year that he just looked big to me, like not in shape big, like big. And it was just like, oh
Mhm.
man, that starts going on with running backs. There's, I don't know, but yeah, hey, hopefully he's in great shape. Hopefully their offensive line is healthy and he can get something done because they're paying him a shitload to get something done. So,
Yeah. They should have
okay,
left his ass in Cabo.
yeah, yeah. What is it with these guys going to Cabo? I have never been to Cabo. Maybe one day. Maybe I'll meet you there in the off season. We don't have an off season, but whatever. Um, Okay, COVID update. So I just saw something earlier. The league is saying 93% of players are vaccinated, which is, if I read that right, that's high, man. That's a lot higher than I was expecting. But I like it because, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, so please don't sue us. Um, unless you have a doctor telling you to not get it, it just seems like you should be getting it. Especially if you're on an NFL team, it seems like, if you get sick or maybe you're asymptomatic, you get your teammates sick, ultimately you're hurting the team. The team's not going to play as well. Um, and that can affect people's livelihood because now maybe a guy, didn't have his best blocker in the game. And so now he's not getting the lanes and this and that. There's like, you know what I'm saying? There's like trickle effects to the whole COVID thing. And, when I heard 93%, I thought, okay, they figured it out because these guys, they want to make their money. They want to stay in the league. They want to put a good show out there. And it's just a good thing. But um, the second part of what I read was that they're going to be recommending, the league is going to be recommending weekly COVID tests for vaccinated people. It'll be bi-weekly for unvaccinated. In that one,
It's
when I
I
saw
heard it was
weekly,
daily for non-vaccinated.
oh, gotcha. See, I when I read it earlier, it was saying bi-weekly, and so maybe it changed. Maybe it changed, but it just seems to me it's better to be safe than sorry. And I'm sure some people will balk at the weekly thing if they're vaccinated, but these are guys that are around other people all the time, man. And so it just I don't know. Like I said, better to be safe than sorry.
Well, apparent. Well, I remember for sure that the Players Association wanted daily for everybody, vaccinated or unvaccinated.
Oh
I,
wow.
I I know I remember that for sure. I'm trying to glance through it to find. I'm not finding it off the top of my head, off the top. But um, yeah, I want to say it's daily for non-vaccinated. But piggybacking on the vaccination rate, it's you have the vaccination rate plus of the 7,200 tests that they did over the this month so far. They did 7,100 different tests, and 68 of them came back positive. And
Okay.
they're being really sticklers um about like the mask wearing in the facilities. Like I heard Cole Beasley um was fined for not wearing a mask 5 feet from the door, like as he
Oh,
was leaving the
gotcha.
facility. He was fined almost $15,000, and like but I mean they're sending fines, and then the other receiver for Buffalo was fined too. He posted it to Twitter, hoping that people would feel sorry for him or whatever, and and everyone's like, yeah, fuck you, get vaccinated.
Not having it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
yeah.
So
I mean,
so the
hey,
NFL proposed that okay, so it's once every 14 days for vaccinated. Oh no, yeah, once every 14 days for vaccinated, and unvaccinated are daily.
oh wow. Okay. Well,
And
maybe that's what they're trying to do is switch it to weekly for vaccinated and biweekly for unvaccinated.
no, it's continue players who are not fully vaccinated would continue to be tested daily
Okay.
in the proposal. So it's from every 14 days to every 7 days for vaccinated. Um, but and also like I mean, some stuff has come out like what happens like for instance, apparently Cam Newton's not vaccinated, and you know how we know that because he had to sit out for 5 days because he left the area or whatever for some medical test, which was team approved, but the only reason you would have to sit out for those 5 days is it's part of the unvaccinated policy the NFL released, not the vaccinated policy.
Okay.
And I mean, it's like, what happens if this was during the regular season? So Cam Newton misses the week of practice and he's the starter for New England. Then is Belichick going to start him after missing every practice?
Yeah. That's the thing is that obviously this is going to carry into this year. And we
Hmm.
were hoping it would have been a one and done because last year was messy enough. But, we're going to be living with those hiccups again this year, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, my 2 cents on it is, and this is my opinion on it, is just get vaccinated. What is it going to hurt?
Yeah. If you can, if your doctor's telling you don't. But that means
Well,
you got some reason. Yeah.
if it's a legitimate doctor telling you
Yeah.
don't. Like I've not heard one legitimate doctor come out and say don't get vaccinated.
No, no, and I say it that way because maybe you have like a medical condition and your doctor's like, hey, because you have XYZ, maybe you should wait. Maybe you should not get it. I think it's like if your doctor who knows you and your body and what you got going on says, don't do it, then it's okay. But it's like, if you're getting the green light and you're just like, I don't know, conspiracy theory, or I don't trust the science, or I'm just an all natural person. I don't know, dude. That stuff, it bothers me. But, uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Okay. So the next thing, this is getting into the puff pieces, the hype things. Derwin James, man. Every week now, James, I'm picking up articles several times a week. Somebody saying this guy looks like a freak of nature. Somebody saying he's just like incredible. And man, I am really, really hoping this guy stays healthy because we got a glimpse of his potential and it's just been like a train wreck ever since with the injuries. I want to see how this plays out on the field, man, because when you get an electric safety in a game, man, that can like totally transform a defense. So I'm fingers crossed all around here.
Yeah, I agree. Like last year when he went down, I was so disappointed because I was so high on him going into the season, so high on the Chargers going into the season, and then he got injured, and it's like, you got to be fucking kidding me again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, we saw it with Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. We saw it with Earl Thomas. There's guys out there that, when that safety position is like a dominant sort of like, generational player, it can like just make that defense totally different, especially today with how much passing goes on in the league. And the Chargers, they're a young up and coming team, so it'd be huge to see, what their rookie head coach could do with a guy like him on his defense. So,
Yeah.
okay, so the last thing, actually, not quite the last thing, I saw Denzel Perryman was traded with a seventh rounder to the Raiders from the Panthers. Carolina's getting a sixth round pick in return. I was all pumped up when Carolina got him in the offseason. I thought it was a great pickup. I see this now, it makes me wonder what the heck's going on. Maybe he wasn't a good fit. Maybe he's just in decline. I don't really know, but he had a solid career with the Chargers. And, you know, Vegas didn't have to give up much to get the guy. But I know Vegas, Gruden, he's feeling the heat this year, and he's been going like all veteran across the board, trying to get these guys to come in and get some results this year. And so I don't know, man. Let's see what happens. But this one, it was a head scratcher for me. But just I don't know, just must not have fit in Carolina unless you heard something, man.
I honestly didn't even hear of the trade, so like you were breaking the news to me, so to speak, because I didn't hear shit about it today, so it must not have really moved the needle on anything I listened to.
Okay, all right. And then the last thing I had, which we talked about before the show, was Travis Etienne out for the season, Liz Frank injury. Uh, you know, Big time bummer for Jacksonville, man. One of their big first round picks. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence was their number one pick, but they were doing a lot of things with him, lining him up at wide receiver. They were kind of like getting creative with how they were going to use this guy, and now he's out for the year. It's good that they got James Robinson there. He can hold down that backfield. I think he proved that last year. But a new regime, high draft pick, not going to be there. I'm sure a lot of people are bummed out about that.
Yeah, I that pick was a head scratcher as it was, and then after the pick, Urban Meyer came out and said that they were going to use him as a wide receiver. Well, if you're going to use him as a wide receiver, why didn't you just fucking draft the wide receiver? It was
Yeah.
the wide receiver class in this draft was freaking ridiculous. Well, like, why draft a running back to play wide receiver? Or, like, what the fuck?
Or why draft a left tackle and then make him play right tackle?
Yeah, and you go and but I mean that's just like the stuff I'm hearing out of Jacksonville is basically like the players down there are sick of Meyer. Like they can't
Oh,
stand him.
wow. All right. I haven't even
Yeah.
heard that. Holy cow.
Like I've been looking for the article. Like I heard like it's just like they wish Meyer wasn't there. Base more or less. Like it's that bad.
Jeez. Year one, and they're already calling for him, huh?
Yeah. So I mean, of course, that's probably because he it's probably because he's got that college mentality and stuff, but it's bad that everyone's sick of him already.
Yeah, that's not good. It's super early for all that. All right, so not to put the pressure on you while you're looking, but that's all I had for the news for the week. So,
So I had a couple things on the news of the week. It looks like looks like in San Francisco that they're going to kind of platoon the quarterbacks or something. Like they're going to, because Garoppolo had conversations with Breeze regarding like the two quarterback system.
What do you mean,
And
like Breeze and Taysom Hill kind of thing?
yeah, something they're going to run packages for Trey Lance. And yeah, so the headline of the article on Urban Meyer was some Jaguar players aren't
Sorry. Yeah, yeah,
thrilled
yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
aren't thrilled with head coach Urban Meyer and his college-like ways.
Uh,
Yeah,
I mean,
and
hey, he was wildly successful in college, but it's a whole different game than the NFL.
so apparently one quote is he's got to change a few things. He brought a bunch of college-like things to the program, which I don't necessarily agree with. It's just one of his assistants on the field during practice with a boom mic telling everyone to hydrate, hustle, and get to the next series. Like, what the fuck?
Hey, every coach does it a little differently, you know?
Yeah, so I mean, it is what it is. But back to Garoppolo. Sorry
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
quick
So
look.
yeah, so you were saying you're not saying that they're gonna do Breeze with Taysom Hill in like a gadget role. You're saying they're gonna pull out Garoppolo and put in you know Trey Lance for like a drive or two drives or whatever, and they're
Yeah,
just gonna like rotate like that. I got you.
yeah, that's what I hear because Garoppolo had apparently, and I don't remember. It was like he had asked or had talked to the media about conversations he had with Drew Brees, and he says um, Jimmy Garoppolo says he sought advice from Drew Brees on playing in a two QB system.
Gotcha. Hmm.
So it's I think they got a lot up their sleeves with the quarterback. Like they're gonna put put Trey Lance in the red zone or shit like that,
Yeah,
where they
yeah.
use his legs, but he has the arm too.
Well, I mean, I trust Shanahan. I like him. I think he's an innovative, sharp, young, up and coming. I mean, he's already not even up and coming anymore. He's established, but I think he's just a solid coach, and so
Yeah,
I think he'll figure it out. Um, and I think it's just a sign that he's struggling with naming him the starter because like they've committed so hard that Jimmy G is going to be the starter, but they're like wanting Trey Lance to be the guy. And there's I'm sure there's a lot of reasons for it. I mean, they probably want to keep pumping Jimmy G in case they can trade him. But they're also probably I don't know, man. There's a lot of things going on there, I'm sure. So
yeah. And then the last one I had, well, I had two. Apparently, Philip Rivers won his first game as a high school coach. Which
oh,
it's not a big deal. But Andrew Luck, apparently he was in Colorado for whatever reason.
snowboarding, not this time of year,
Snowboarding,
but
not this time of year, whatever reason he was in Colorado, and apparently he called up the local high school wherever he was, and called up the coaches and asked if he could come to practice, and was seen thrown like playing quarterback in practice for this high school team, and throwing to the kids, and teaching the quarterbacks there stuff. So it's interesting. It's like he's testing out his arm and kind of
yeah,
maybe getting itch again.
Indy
He's
might need me.
yeah, he might need me.
If Wentz doesn't get back, man, Indy might need me.
Well,
Oh,
I'm hearing Wentz is going to be fine for the first game. Like
yeah, it sounds
Wentz
like
is
he's
already
way
back to
ahead of schedule.
practice.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard a lot of that too. Yeah, which is good. I hope they're not rushing it and then him getting hurt again. It's like, but if he's looking good and it sounds like everything's looking good, that's good for them, man.
Yeah. So apparently he met like one of the assistant coaches met him through a mutual friend and on a ski trip
Okay.
or some shit, and asked, and then he asked if he could attend practice.
Okay. I mean, hey, the guy, you got to do what you got to do. If you feel like you need to retire, so be it. That's your choice. I'm just bummed out because uh, we're missing out on one extra, good quarterback in the league, and so it's just, I don't know. It is what it is, but maybe he'll come back. We'll see. He's still pretty young.
Yeah, I still remember like when that happened. Like we were in Kentucky,
Yep.
and it was like we whatever I forget the bar we were a little underground bar. One of them was it like Troll Under the Bridge or something
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
that troll bar. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that.
and
Yeah.
like we were talking, and I looked down at my phone, and I had a news alert that Andrew Luck retired.
Yep.
I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, we were all like, no way. Makes no sense. It was like right before the season was starting.
Yeah, it was. In fact, I think it was 2 years ago this week.
That sounds about right. Yeah. Yeah, we went in August.
Yeah, maybe it might have been last week, but
Yeah.
still, that's probably one of the most shocking things that's happened like sports wise to me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, what else do you got? Was that it?
That was it.
Okay, so let's kick it over to the main event, the AFC NFC South Outlook for 2021. And last week, James, I went first with some of these, but if you're ready, I'll have you kick it off with the AFC South, man.
All right, for the AFC South, I have Tennessee winning the division at 12-5. You know, I've come around on Tennessee, and I've come around on Tannehill. There, he does what's needed of him there. Obviously, the issues in Miami were because it was Miami and it was Adam Gase,
Yeah.
not Tannehill. Um, and I think I was looking when you look at their schedule. Let me grab that real quick. I thought I had it right here, and it wasn't there when I looked. So give me a second. There it is.
I've got Tennessee winning four out of their first five. I mean, it's,
Hmm.
they
Me
definitely,
too.
yeah. I like them. I like Tennessee, man. And I mean, I'm a huge Vrabel fan.
Yeah. So I have them losing to Seattle of their first five.
Yep. Same here.
But I have them actually starting the season 4-4.
Um, you know what? I've actually, now that I'm looking at it, I have them starting 4-5 through week 9, and then it
Yeah,
picks up.
I have the, I have
But
I
I've
have
got them
them
at
5-4. So it's
okay.
it's like I have them losing a late game towards the end of the season. They kind of luck out and beat or lose or a team lucks out and beats them. But I think they have a fairly easy start to their schedule. I mean they had Arizona, which we talked about Arizona last week. They have the Jets, they have Jacksonville, but then they have a stretch of like Buffalo, Kansas City, Indianapolis, the Rams.
Yeah, and Indy and the Rams are on the road. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that's I have them winning one of those games.
Okay.
And outside of that, like I mean their schedule is fairly easy compared to a lot of the league this year. So that's why I have them going 12-5 and winning the division, but I have them losing in the second round of the playoffs.
Okay.
Then I have Indy at 10-7.
Gotcha.
And when I did my picks here, I was assuming that Andrew Luck was, or not Andrew Luck, shoot, Carson Wentz wasn't going to be there for the first 3 to 4 games.
Yep.
And I mean, I had them starting out 1-3, and then actually. I had them starting out 2-6, looking at their schedule, and then they go on a big win streak, and then they have pretty easy schedule after those first 6-7 games. After week 7, it's fairly easy. Besides like a couple
Yeah.
obvious
Yeah.
tough games.
So what was it? You had them beating Miami in week 4?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I had them beating Miami in week 4, and then they're and then loss win, and
Okay.
then obviously win. But yeah, so I have them at 10-7. I have them making the playoffs, but I have them losing in the first round of the playoffs to Buffalo,
Okay.
who as we said a couple weeks ago, I have going to the Super Bowl. Then I have Jacksonville. I have Jacksonville at 3-14,
Okay.
and everyone's gonna. I think because they're playing Houston the first game of the season, and I don't care if it's at Houston or at Jacksonville, they're gonna win that game, and then they go on like a huge losing streak till they play Houston again. I have them
Okay.
beaten Houston twice and the Jets. Those are their 3 wins.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think I don't think Jacksonville is going to do much more than that, and I think it's going to give, not wishing it on him, but losing that many games. His first year, Urban Meyer's going to lose more games than he did his like 8 years he was at Ohio State.
Yeah, it's going to be I think it's going to be rocky for them too. Yeah. Okay. And so what do you
And
have
then
Houston at?
I have Houston at 0-17.
Oh, it's 17. Shit. That's brutal,
Yeah,
man.
I
Okay.
Houston, they don't have a quarterback to speak of. The team has basically, if you could know how to play football, the team's gotten rid of them. They hired a coach that no wasn't on anybody's radar to even interview for a head coach. They're run by the old chaplain to the Saints, or to the Patriots, basically. What's Easterly or whatever his name is, and it's going to be brutal. They're not going to have Deshaun Watson, or Deshaun Watson, one way or another. Deshaun Watson's not playing, whether it's just because he's not playing or if it's because they trade him. But they don't have any talent on. Well, not that they don't have talent, but they don't have NFL level talent on this team. I think Houston would struggle in a college season, would struggle to win 4 games.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, here, let me just give you my rundown and start filling in some of the pieces based on what you're saying. So I've got Tennessee at the top of the division as well. I've got them at 10-7, and so a few less wins than you. I still think they get it done. It's like, I don't know if you remember this last year, but we were talking about how if you really looked at like the player ratings on this team, they're pretty solid on offense, especially this year bringing in Julio. I like all that. Um, on defense, there's something to be desired. And I think Vrabel finds a way to kind of like squeeze as much juice as possible out of these guys. But I don't see it being, a dozen wins or anything like that. I think it's like a 9-10 win. They've been sort of in that range these last few years. I think 10 wins. I could see it getting 11, maybe even 12 if it was really good. But it just like, yeah, their schedule's kind of like one or the other. You've got really tough games with Seattle, Buffalo, Kansas City, the Rams, even at Pittsburgh, that could be a tough game. And then it's
Well,
like they have, well, yeah, maybe not. And then they
well, actually,
have,
I have them losing that game, so never mind.
yeah, all right, there we go. And then they got, the Jets in Jacksonville. I mean, it's in Houston. It's like, basically some gimme games. And so it's like I, you know, I think it's going to be a good year for them. But I think that they're still struggling to break through the ceiling and be at that top tier level with the teams like Buffalo and Kansas City and those guys. I think they're like still squarely a notch below. And so we'll see. But I like it, and I love the way they run the ball and all that stuff. And so that's good. In the second spot, I've got Indy. I've got them at 8 and 9, and like you, I did these back a few weeks ago when Wentz was supposed to be out. I could see that being 9 and 8 now, maybe even getting them up to 10 games. Um, it's all possible, but I think they're still going to be second fiddle to Tennessee in the division. After that, I've got Houston and Jacksonville in that order as the bottom feeders, and we're talking hard bottom feeders. I've got Houston at 2-15 and Jacksonville at 1-16, and I could see that the other way around. I don't think either one of these teams is going to win a lot of games this year. I gave the edge to Houston a little bit just because I have heard some positive news about their defense, and looks like they've got like an edge rusher that they think's capable of replacing Watt to some degree. And then on offense, Tyrod Taylor, he's not flashy, but he is a veteran game manager, and so that's where I gave them the extra game over Jacksonville. And they do have a good stable of running backs. They've got Philip Lindsay, they got David Johnson, they got Mark Ingram. Between those guys, they're going to find a way to get some production, I'm sure. It's going to be tough if they're stacking the box, but we're not talking like earth-shattering stuff here. 2 wins, and then Jacksonville, I just got them at 1 because looking at the schedule, man, I just had a hard time finding wins, and I'm sure you can get them, but like even some of their easier games, it's like Cincinnati. It's on the road, and so I consider them like somewhat equally shitty teams. And so I gave the edge to Cincinnati for being at home. And then even with Houston, it's like I just swapped them. Week 1 at Houston, I got them losing. Week 15, when they play Houston at home, I got them winning. And so it's like, and then I look at the other games, like they're playing at the Jets. It's like, man, if that Jets game was at home, I might have given it to them because I think the Jets are in that lower tier too. But they're just so bad that it's like I'm just kind of like deferring to the home team for those shitty matchups. And so all I could come up was with that one game for Jacksonville. And maybe at the end of the year, who knows? Maybe they sneak one by somebody because you never know. As teams get locked in, they might not be playing as hard. They might be benching some guys. But I mean, the last couple games at New York Jets, at New England, and then home against Indy, I'm just not seeing one of those teams throwing those games. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like the Jets is the one I had on for Jacksonville, but I mean at New England, New England's going to be in the playoff hunt. I have New England
Yeah.
just missing the playoffs. And then at Indy's going to be
They'll
in
be
the
still
playoff.
fighting. Yep.
Yeah, they'll be in the playoff hunt, and I have Indy making the playoffs, and I have New England and Indy with the same record at 10-7. So, I think that last win, Indy's going to need it to make the playoffs because I have New England winning the last game. So it's just coming down to the tiebreaker on
Okay.
that. But Indy's going to have to win. I have Indy needing to win that game to make the playoffs, and I think they do it.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, if you're good there, let's kick it over to the NFC South.
All right, for the NFC South, I'm going to start at the bottom for this one.
Tampa Bay at the bottom. Just
Yes, Carolina
Brady's
at the bottom. Exactly.
Tampa Bay at the bottom. Brady's arm just goes off the cliff like Peyton Manning did that one year, and train wreck.
So
No,
Carolina, okay. I have Carolina at the bottom at 5-12.
Okay.
I think Carolina. I don't think Carolina really wins. I think they get maybe one win in the division, and that just goes to because I have Atlanta and Carolina basically the same, and so I swapped it where Carolina loses on the road and Atlanta or and Carolina wins at home
Yeah.
in that game. They have a hard stretches where I could see they have easy. They play the NFC East, or as I heard it referred to this week, the NFC Least
Uh,
this year. So I mean, they those their wins is like the Giants, Philadelphia, the Jets, and I mean they play Houston. So I mean they have that, but they also have to play Minnesota. They have to play um, Arizona, Miami, Buffalo.
yeah.
Obviously, the division games. Two of the last 3 weeks they're playing Tampa Bay, and I have Tampa Bay needing those, basically more or less needing those games to get
Okay.
the number one seed. So that's why I have Carolina at where I have Carolina at 5-12. I have Atlanta at 6-11. Um, I'm not really high on what I'm seeing in Atlanta. Like I kind of like the prospects for Mike Davis in that running game and kind of open it up a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
But I it's just they again, like they get some of the wins against the NFC East, and that's about in Houston, our NFC East, AFC South, and that's where they basically get their wins, Jacksonville and Houston. So I have them similar to Carolina.
Okay.
Then I have New Orleans, and I went back and forth on this with New Orleans, and I ended up having New Orleans be 8-9.
Okay.
And this was before Jameis was named the starter. I think that might give him a game or two extra. So maybe take them to 9-8, maybe 10-7. But I think I, I think New Orleans is going to struggle this year, getting rid of or not having Drew Brees. They're not going to have Michael Thomas to start the season. They lost a lot on that defense, and they have some hard games to start the season. I mean they're at at Washington, who I think has a great defense. They're at New England. They play Green Bay. Then after their bye week, it's Seattle, Tampa Bay. It's just they have a hard, what I see is a hard schedule for them,
Hmm.
and I think they take a little bit of a dip this year.
Okay.
And then winning the division, I have Tampa Bay, and I struggled to find more than one loss on Tampa Bay's schedule this year. I really struggled with it. I kind of think I found one, maybe a second one. Like I think they lose in week 3, and then they lose after their bye week. And it's so I have them at 15-2. And it's just I couldn't put them at
Yeah.
16-1. That's just ridiculous. But for Tampa Bay to bring back basically their entire starting roster for last year. I mean, hell, they have Antonio Brown's the number 4 wide receiver there, basically. They're getting OJ Howard back at tight end. They're just
Yeah. I'm
this team.
hearing he might be traded, but yeah.
uh, they have a lot of weapons on that offense. Brady is, I mean, it's Brady. Last
Yeah.
year they won the Super Bowl and he had a fucking torn meniscus
Yeah. Yeah.
and
As
no,
long as the arm is still there,
yeah,
this team, I mean, they're returning all their starters, man. I mean, it's insane in this day and age. Yeah, and I'm with you. I'm actually with you on the order. So I've got the same thing, top to bottom: Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Atlanta, Carolina. I've got Tampa Bay at 14-3, and basically what I did was them having a loss at New Orleans week 8, divisional game. Maybe they get their number and they sneak a win past them. And Based on that, I have them basically throwing in the towel week 17 and 18 because in my predictions here, they're already locked in. And so at 14 and 3, they got the top seed. And so I thought,
Yeah, but
okay,
even throwing in the towel, it's hard to see them losing to the New York Jets.
uh, that's a good point. That's a good point. Um, I got to really, really throw it in the towel, James. But
I mean,
yeah,
hell,
no,
I
it's,
could play quarterback for Tampa Bay against the
uh,
New York Jets and possibly
yeah,
still win that game.
yeah, yeah.
And I
We'll
can't throw a
see. We'll
football worth
see.
shit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is them with Sue out at kicker, and I don't know. I'm just getting crazy. But no, I mean, I agree. When I did this, I was like, if they don't lose before the bye week, it's an undefeated season. That's the
Hmm.
way I looked at it. And it could be an undefeated season. No joke. I honestly, I could see Tampa Bay or Kansas City going undefeated this year. I could see either of these guys making that run. But I think the reality is that it's a very difficult thing to do. Somebody's going to nip them in the bud somewhere. And then later in the year, it's not as important to keep fighting through those last couple games. It's more about keeping guys safe going into the playoffs, safe and rested. But um,
See, I have them needing to win or having the possibility of needing to win the last game because the last
yeah, you got some
two,
big time NFC teams, man.
yeah, because I have the Rams and I have Green Bay at both at 13-4, so
Hmm.
maybe not the last game, but I have I have the Rams losing their last two games,
Okay.
so
Yeah, so you need Tampa Bay to win those last ones. Yeah, I got you. Okay, well, yeah, that's cool. And so with New Orleans, I put them at 11 and 6, and I thought it was a very healthy 11 and 6. And if they go flip-flopping with quarterbacks, totally changes this. I'm with you. That drops them down a couple games. I think their best case scenario is Jameis takes the fucking bull by the horns and they can sprinkle in Taysom like they did when Breeze was the guy, but Jameis has to stay as the number one. And I think he could do it. They have a great defense to help him out. And, he's now been under Sean Payton for a little while. It's, going to give him hopefully what he was missing in Tampa Bay. And I know the weapons are maybe a little bit of an issue with Michael Thomas and his uncertainty, but they still got Kamara. They still have a great offensive line. There's guys there, man. And so I had him at 11-6, maybe a little high, but I liked it when I looked at the schedule. In third, I got Atlanta at 7-10. You know, I like Matt Ryan. I like Mike Davis. I like Calvin Ridley. I like, a lot of what this team's got going on. I'm hearing a lot of good things about what they're doing on defense for a change, which is crazy because they had a defensive minded guy for how many years in Dan Quinn. It just never worked. Um, but, their schedule is, it's got, some of those patches of easiness, Jets, things like that. And some of the patches of toughness, Buffalo, Tampa Bay. Yeah, it's like, okay, they're going to get a little bit of both. And I'm just not ready to say that Atlanta's going to take a big step forward. So I got them at 7-10. And then at the bottom, I got Carolina at 5-12. So I matched you there, which was nice. And here's the thing: I got them coming out of the gate 3-2 through week 5, and then I have them going on a nasty skid, and it's pretty much downhill from there, man. So
yeah, I had them at 4-3 through week 7.
okay,
And then like I said, like you said, nasty skid after there, and they win one of their remaining 10 games.
yeah, and I do like what we're seeing in Carolina. I like the Matt Rule program, what he's doing with that team. Last year, they actually played really compelling football, and that was without Christian McCaffrey. I think Darnold is going to be a little bit of a wild card, but he should be good. They were able to squeeze some production out of Bridgewater and what they had going on out there. Um, it's the same thing. I'm just not ready to move them up yet they need to prove it to me first because it's still very new. And I thought that they performed really well last year in year one with Matt Rule. It just, I got to see them do something before I have them beating teams like Minnesota or Miami, and they could beat Miami, but, they're playing at Miami. And so it just, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, last year through week 5, they were 3-2,
Yeah, they were surprising everybody, man.
and they went on a skid. Like, I mean, and the teams they beat after that were the Lions and the Washington football team.
Yeah, and I mean this could be a nasty finish for them too. Their last 4 weeks at Buffalo, at home against Tampa Bay, at New Orleans, and then at Tampa Bay. Unless Tampa Bay is gifting them that final win, they could finish the year 0-4, man.
hmm I actually have them finishing the year 0-4.
Yeah.
They have a 5-game losing streak and a 4-game losing streak with a win in between.
And here's the thing. I hope it whatever transpires this year, it's good enough that they keep Matt Rule in place because I like what I'm seeing out of him. I like what I'm hearing about him. He looks like a real deal NFL head coach. I just think that sort of like the combination of factors for this year, it's going to be hard for them to break past 5-12.
Yeah,
And you got them at 5-12, so we're in agreement on that. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, so what do you think? Any final thoughts on our NFC, AFC South 2021 outlook?
no, I don't think so. I mean, besides, I have Tampa Bay losing in the conference championship to the Rams at home.
Never going to happen. Never going to happen. But no, it might happen, man. I don't know. There's a lot of hype for the Rams. The part of me that's like a Stafford hater is like, don't fucking win the Super Bowl. But if they do, they do. Then I'm sure I'll be happy for them somewhere deep down. But yeah. Okay, well, let's kick it over to question of the week then. And so this is going back to the start here where I was talking about Jameis Winston being named as the starter for week 1 in New Orleans. Question of the week, very simple. And it's kind of like a if then, blah, blah, blah. But barring injury, will Jameis Winston make it through the entire season as the Saints starting quarterback? And the next part of this is, if so, do you see him going over or under 4,500 passing yards? If not, do you think he goes over or under 9 starts? And so I'll answer like I always do, giving you time to think here, James. And I'll answer it both ways because it's my question. I can do what the fuck I want. I'll say, just to be, devil's advocate here, I think their best case scenario is that he is the starter for the full season. And if he is, I think he easily passes 4,500 passing yards. We know he's got that kind of capability. With Sean Payton as coach, I think there's no questions asked. But when I look at their schedule and I see the team dynamics with Taysom Hill there, if they come out of the gate and through week 7, I could see them at 3-4 or even worse through the first 7 games. If that were to happen, I don't see how he makes it beyond that point as the starter. And so, is it over or under 9? I think it's like right at 9, man. I think they're going to split. It's going to get ugly. I really don't think Taysom Hill's the answer. Maybe they do a little bit going back and forth, but it's tricky. Michael Thomas going to miss the start of the season. I'm sure they can squeeze some juice out of their wide receivers. But there's something to be desired at tight end. And then I do want to say this, which I know I brought up before, but the combination of Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, it did not work with Alvin Kamara last year, man. They just could not get him going. And I'm hoping they've had an off season to figure this out, because if they do, that's where they get to that 11 wins that I got them projected at. If they can't, I don't know. It could be an ugly year, man. It could be an ugly year. What do you think?
So when I heard the report today that the Saints were naming Jameis Winston starting quarterback for Week 1, my reaction was no shit. Um, so for him to hit 45, go over 4,500 yards, if he played all 17 games, he would have to have 265 yards per game. Drew Brees, who couldn't throw the ball last year, had 245 points per game.
Okay.
I think, and I was really torn on this. I still am really torn on this. I think he does make it through the season as a starter, all 17 games. I think your question's a little low on the 4,500 yards. I think the question is more over under 5,300 yards.
You think he's like really going to light it up?
Yeah, I think if he can just, I think in how Sean Payton runs that offense, I think he's just going to light it up if he starts all 17 games. I think
Yeah, and I'll tell you the reason that I picked that, because here's the thing. Okay, he went over 5,000 yards in 2019 in Tampa Bay, and he's been over 4,000 yards a couple times. Um, and so I can see him hitting 4,500 no problem if they let him just let it rip. I picked that number specifically because I think Sean Payton's going to have him on a little bit of a tight leash of, hey, man, you go gunslinger and you throw the ball, get a whole bunch of picks, he's going to yank him. And so I kind of thought he's going to let him air it out, but kind of like really keep a like tight grip on him doing it. And so that's where I picked the over under there. But I think he goes over like you're saying.
yeah, and I think if he weren't to make it through the season, I would say it'd be definitely under 9 games.
Okay.
I think it'd be more like it would be. I would say 5 games.
See, I could see them. Okay, you think they make the switch after the bye?
Yeah.
See, I could see them letting them run it out, and maybe they're like in my model anyhow. I got them 3-2 going into the bye, and then they lose to Seattle. I had them getting a sneaky win against Tampa Bay. They win against Atlanta, then they lose to Tennessee. Here's the thing: when I look at this, I wonder if they pull him and then they put him back in at some point, because I just don't see Taysom Hill being the guy on a full-time basis. I just don't. And so,
Hmm.
but it depends on where they make the move, because if they pull him, like let's just say after Tennessee in week 10, well then he got through his 9 games or whatever. But Taysom starts against Philly, then he's got a rough one against Buffalo, but then Dallas could be beatable. The Jets are beatable. I could see there being enough there where they stick with Taysom at that point on. But it's like if like I said, it just all depends on where they make the move, if they're going to make the move.
All right. I have a follow-up question to my response to it.
Let's hear it.
How many can you name the players or the quarterbacks that have thrown for more than 5,000 yards in the season?
Well, Jameis Winston's one of them.
Hmm.
Drew Brees has done it. Um, did Stafford get there the one year? I know he
Hmm.
had a fuckload of yards the one year. And then I want to say, didn't Peyton get there
Hmm.
just barely? And
No, 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 no. Peyton almost threw for 5,500.
oh, was that his 50 touchdown year?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and then aside from them, Did Mahomes get to 5,000 that one year? The other
Yep.
year? I can't think of anybody other than that. Maybe Brady got there.
Yep.
Brady might not. Did Brady did get there? I was gonna say maybe Brady was like just short, but
So
that's all I
Brady,
got, man.
Breeze, and Stafford did it all in the same year.
Yeah.
There's been 8 players that have done it. You're missing 2 of them.
Oh,
You'll
was
never get the 2.
Roethlisberger one of them?
Roethlisberger's one of them. You'll never get the other one.
I'll never get the other one. Um, it's a recent quarterback or an older one?
It's an older one.
Is it what's his name from the Chargers?
Nope.
Not Rivers. I'm talking going
Nope.
back, like the Air Coryell or whatever guy.
Nope.
Oh, who the hell was it? Um, okay, tell me.
Okay. Dan Marino.
Oh shit, how did I miss Marino, man? He's my favorite fucking quarterback.
Right, but you would never get it. That's the only one when I heard that there were 8 players, 8 different players to do it.
Yeah.
That's the only one I couldn't come up with. But
Wow. Yeah.
but Drew Brees in New Orleans under Sean Payton did it 5 times.
Oh yeah, he was a machine, dude. Just tore it up like every year.
Yeah, he did it 3 years in a three. There was 3 years in a row he did it.
Yeah, I mean, super steady, dude. Super steady.
Yeah,
Breeze, surefire Hall of Famer, man.
exactly. And that's the thing about it, and that's why I say it's more like over under 5,300.
Okay. All right. So here's the thing. Okay. So when Stafford did it, it was back in 2011, and that was his big year. He had 41 touchdowns. I mean,
Hmm.
man, he had 32 in 2015, and he's not gone 30 or higher other than those 2 seasons. And my whole thing with Stafford is it's like the year that he went over 5,000 yards, basically they were just like, just throw 50 fucking times a game.
Hmm.
And it's tough because they've done that with him every year. In a lot of years they've done that with him. And I don't even know where to start here, but I used to have a stat that compared Breeze to Stafford. I know it's unfair, but it was all about your pass attempts to your touchdown ratio. And Breeze's pass attempts to touchdown was like so much better than Stafford's. And to me, it was like, hey, it's great. You got all these yards, you got all these stats, but you're throwing the ball all these fucking times and you're not getting touchdowns. So it's not helping your team win games. Basically, it's just garbage passing, is all it is. With Breeze, it was very steady. It led to results every year, very stable. And but like I said, unfair comparison. Unfair comparison.
Yeah. Uh, you have to look at the consistency and the coaching with Breeze.
True. I
They
still
had
can't
the
believe the Chargers let him go, man.
I can't believe the Chargers let him go, and then Miami failed him on the
Yeah.
physical, so they couldn't sign him. And I mean, right there, that could have changed NFL history with the Dolphins,
Oh, yeah.
because college football history too. Because if he would have gotten Breeze, who knows if Saban
Saban.
would have gone back to college level.
That's true. That's true. Oh, man. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. But all right. So, yeah, I mean, hey, that was a fun question of the week. Um, what else you got for tonight, man? Anything?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. Well, hey, so let's wrap it up then. Yeah. Anybody who's watching, we hope you like the show. Just like we did with Name That Stadium, feel free to answer our question of the week. Hit us up in the comments section. And if you like what we're doing here, give us that thumbs up. Give us a like if it's on Facebook or whatever platform you're on. And if you really like us, hit the subscribe button. Next week, we're going to wrap all this up with our fourth part of the series. We're going to be hitting the AFC and NFC North. If last year serves any kind of reference to this. It's going to get a little dicey because we'll be talking about the Lions, but that's bound to happen. We're Lions fans. So, James, it was fun, man. I will catch you later, homie.
All right, sounds good. Have a good one.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.